Hello, welcome to the Mediocre Takes podcast, the podcast where we share our mediocre takes on the shows and movies we watch. I'm Marco and I'm here with my co-host Mel. How are you doing, Mel?
My cat snores, but her snores sound like a child taking loud, shallow breaths, and it's like the creepiest thing to hear first thing in the morning when I'm just waking up.
That sounds really spooky.
It is, oh my
Spoopy.
god.
Perfect for Halloween. Speaking of Halloween, today we are talking about a movie called Halloween. This is the 1978 version, the original. And I did not like this movie that much, which Mal foresaw. Mal said you probably won't like it, and I was like, okay, then I definitely won't like it. And then I watched it, and I was like, this was not for me. Like the girls who get it, and the girls who don't. And I'm the one who doesn't.
Well, just consider this payback.
Okay, that's fair. We're also gonna watch that one Megan movie. I'm not excited for that.
You have like a year to prepare yourself, it's fine.
Okay. Anyways, let's just get started.
Okay, so Michael Myers, a bona fide psychopath, kills his sister at the ripe old age of 6 on Halloween night. 15 years later, he escapes from the psych hospital and goes back to his childhood home. While at the house, he sees final girl, Laurie Strode, and starts stalking her. On Halloween night, he begins a killing spree. Michael is shot by his psychiatrist and falls off a roof before getting to kill Laurie. When they go to find his body, it's mysteriously vanished.
I felt so much suspense in the opening scene of the movie, and if there's one thing I will appreciate about this movie is that it's how suspenseful it is. I really appreciate the suspense in this movie. I kind of get to see the murder at the very beginning that sets up the whole movie. It was nice. The naked lady was gross. Okay, we need to talk about that stabbing scene at the very beginning of the movie where Michael Myers as a kid stabs his sister. It looked really bad. Like, it looked so bad. I get that this had a low budget, but it looked so bad. Like, when he stabbed the girl, you could only see the knife and it was in a really bad position. And I get that they did that so, like, it was supposed to show how Michael was, like, basically looking at the knife to like show how he's obsessed with this knife and the murder and everything or whatever. I don't know. I get that there's an explanation for it, but I really don't like the way the scene was handled. Like he's just looking at the knife like this and I don't get it. I hated the children in this movie. Yeah, I just don't like children except for my little sister. She's okay.
What did the children do?
You know, the ones that I don't know, they were just annoying.
The ones that were bullying Tommy?
Yeah, those ones.
Or just like
And
all the kids?
all the kids.
Whoa. Okay.
I just don't like children, okay?
Understandable.
Very understandable. Relatable, actually. Honestly, I got kind of bored of this movie after 30 minutes because nothing was happening. Oh, I saw the death of the main character's friend coming, like, right from the very beginning. It was kind of obvious. I get that this movie is really influential and it like changed slashers for the better, but I still didn't like it. The cop character did absolutely nothing, which is perfect. Like just great. It's just so fitting, you know?
Was there any character you liked in this?
I like the main character and the main character's friends. Kind of.
Oh, okay, wait. So the kids were annoying, but the friends weren't.
They were kind of annoying, but I like them
Okay.
still.
To me, Annie was like so annoying, and I'm not going to say she deserved death, but I also wasn't exactly sad when she died.
Is she the one who's having sex or is she the one that was talking about the dog?
The dog. Yeah.
Stupid dog. I don't know, that's what she sounded like.
Exactly, she was annoying.
Okay, so I kind of changed my mind after I listened to the music a bit more, but I did not like the music motif that was in this movie. It got kind of overdone. I like motifs in movies and TV shows and all that jazz, but it felt like every 5 minutes we were getting that do 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 do. You know?
Yes.
It felt overdone. I will appreciate that this movie was made with such a low budget and ended up being somewhat decent. Also, I realized the killer ate the dog like a little while after I finished watching the movie. That was strange because they never outright say that he ate the dog, but they say he must have gotten hungry. And then the cop says it could have been a squirrel. And I was so confused by that. I was like, what do you mean he got hungry or whatever? But yeah, it was strange. I had no idea they killed the dog. That's kind of sad. Oh, and I also hate the virgin survives trope.
What? Wait, why do you hate it?
Listen, I don't like how there's this idea that you need to be pure in order to survive or something. Like, it's kind of weird how horror movies do the virgin survives trope a lot.
A conversation started to happen, I think, fairly recently, where people started to talk about just the trends that we see in horror in general and how it changes throughout the years and how it's formed by what society fears most at that time. Something that they feared a lot back then was like quote unquote impurity.
I did watch a video about this movie that talked about how the creator wasn't trying to go for the virgin trope survives. It was just like a part of the plot because she's smart and she was trying to outsmart the killer and everything, and she just happened to be like a virgin person.
She
I'm
was
not sure if
supposed to
I'd
be
be
smart.
because she's literally smarter than her other friends and everything. It's just so interesting to see how like something so unintentional like the virgin surviving turned into this huge trope. That's really fascinating to me. I still don't like it though, but it's fascinating.
Well, I think it's no longer a trope, so you're good on that. Though I feel like I feel like we should bring it back because it's so funny to me. Like something about something about just like a scene where like right after two people have sex, one of them's like, "Okay, well I'm gonna go do this thing now," and the other person's like, "Okay," and then just one of them dies, and the other one finds them, and they're like, "Oh no, Jimmy!" Something about that is just so funny to me.
I mean, I guess.
So, first of all, tell me again your thoughts on the soundtrack.
I think it was decent. I just think the motif was overused.
Okay, okay. That's interesting because I love the soundtrack for this movie. To this day, I do believe it's the best horror soundtrack. I don't think it was overused. I mean, maybe it was, but it never got old to me. And actually, the basically Michael Myers theme song, it's actually my phone's ringtone. So I hear it every single time someone calls me. Also, one thing I've always adored about slasher films is the killer's ability to literally teleport, especially when the killer is just some guy. Like, there's nothing supernatural about him. He's just a dude who's like really fast at running. Also, all those scenes where he's just in the background, I love that too. I love it more when they're really subtle. I think with this film, they were more obvious, but films where like you only catch it on your second watch through and then you have that like, holy shit, what the fuck moment? And you're like, was that there the whole time? I love that kind of subtlety. Michael Myers is such an iconic fictional killer, and I always talk about how kind of slay queen he is until I remember that he literally like killed a dog. Like he choked that dog to death.
He also like literally killed his sister, you know.
I know, but she wasn't a virgin, Margot.
I was literally gonna say because she had sex.
Also, there were way too few people trick-or-treating in that neighborhood. That place was filled with two-story houses with manicured lawns. Kids should have been swarming that place. And for me, that makes this kind of creepier. The fact that it's empty kind of makes the whole movie feel more eerie. It sort of gives you that feeling that like you truly are alone in this situation. Oh, also, sex scenes in old movies are so funny because it's literally like ambiguous gyrating with heavy breathing, and that's it. This guy got stabbed in the neck with a knitting needle, had his eye aborted with a wire coat hanger, stabbed in the chest with a kitchen knife, got shot 5 times, fell off the second story of a house, and then just pieced out. And I think my biggest issue with him not being dead is just I'd be fine with it if he wasn't shot 5 times, you know? Because I feel like
Actually, he was shot 7 times, so
okay, yeah. Well, that just
yeah.
makes it worse. The whole point of the movie is that the boogeyman isn't some monster demon hellspawn. The boogeyman is just a guy. He's a regular dude. He could be your next door neighbor. And all of the other injuries he acquired are things that, yes, would be painful and are kind of serious wounds, but you could power through that on adrenaline. And I just feel like being shot that many times in the chest, it's a little too unrealistic for me.
Overall, I think this is an okay movie. I appreciate it for what it was, but that still means I do not like it. I don't think horror is my thing, and I don't think slashers are my thing. I just don't understand why Mal made me watch this. I'm kidding. I understand. You like it? Do you like it?
I appreciate certain aspects of it. What would I rate it? Okay, well, what would I rate it 5 years ago? Probably like a 9.5. What would I rate it now? A 6.5. I've fallen out of love of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting to hear. I do appreciate the music in this movie. I just do not like how repetitive it was at some point. The boobs were gross. But yeah, I find it really funny when you talk about how like the sex scenes where they're just like jumping on each other, and it's so funny and weird. The acting was kind of bad at some points. I find the line where that one girl is talking about her dumb dog really funny, and how like mean the dog is, and how the dog doesn't like her. But yeah, overall this was a okay movie. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah, I mean, this is a classic film with one of the most iconic fictional killers. The soundtrack, in my opinion, did such a great job of setting the mood. I don't think I can accurately say how well the acting was because acting in the 70s in general looks a bit silly. Also, I know that this is probably a hard watch for a lot of people now because of just how slow the pacing is, which is actually something I really appreciate, but I know that movies in general are just more fast paced nowadays, so that's what a lot of people are used to. I will also say, yeah, my love for this movie has decreased more and more, especially now after finding out that Jamie Lee Curtis, the actor for Laurie, is kind of a weirdo and loves ethnic cleansing.
I just want to say, like, we obviously don't support like genocide and ethnic cleansing. You know that one meme where like that one lady says 9/11 is bad, and then everyone claps. That's how I feel whenever I have to say genocide or like ethnic cleansing is bad.
It just seems like we don't condemn ethnic cleansing and genocide that much nowadays. So sad.
People don't think as much as they used to, I guess. Well, actually, I feel like people think more than they used to. Actually, now that I think about it,
No, they don't.
just
Finding out the moral compass of celebrities is both a blessing and a curse. Well, hear ye, listeners. The Halloween special has come to an end, so now we must move on to a little segment that I like to call the Mediocre Minute. This is a tiny little micro moment where me and Marco recommend books, comics, music, games, and more for all of you to consume in the safety of your home while throwing out all of the Reese's candy you acquired. Watch out, the worms will get you.
Reese's are actually good though.
Marco, there are worms in them.
What?
Marco, look it up. Look it up. Reese's worms.
Okay.
There are worms in them. They're literally having an infestation. Do you see the worms?
What the fuck? I can't eat those anymore now. What?
How did you not know
What?
that?
Since when?
Since like I think it was like a month ago or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And I don't think they're doing
I
anything
love
about it. I
those.
don't think they've recalled them. They're
That's
just
wild.
wriggling around in there. Anyway, today I will be recommending the comic Shock Shop by Colin Byrne. I haven't finished it. I've kind of just started it, but it's, I think, in general, a really interesting comic book. You're getting two stories. Both of them have really interesting plots, and I think the monsters in both of the comics are very gross, but also really interesting. This is a very gore heavy comic, and the monsters are very detailed. So, content warning for that. It is kind of a quick read, but yeah, that's my recommendation. Marco, what is your recommendation?
My recommendation is a short story called Rick Katif by Toni Morrison. I think that's how you pronounce it. This is a short story about a black woman and a white woman and how their two families collide. Basically, you don't know which race each family is, and you have to find out what the race of the two main characters are, or that's the point of the story, and it's basically about how like race doesn't really matter, I guess. It's a really interesting story, and I really love it. It's really good. I never found out which person is which, and I don't think it really matters which person is which. I think just like the moral really matters when it comes to the end of the day. It's a really amazing story. Toni Morrison is an amazing writer. I do not get her books most of the time, but when I do, it's amazing. And yeah, that's why I recommend. Anyways, you guys, that's our thoughts on Halloween 1978. If you want to send us a voice message on Spotify for podcasters, there'll be a link in the description to do so. We also have an Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Threads, which are at MidTakesPod. And that's everything. So goodbye.
Slay.
Slay. It's loading. Stop recording.